Hi everyone, I'm Tanya, the VP of Marketing at PourMyBeer and Beverage. Thank you all for joining our webinar, How to Increase Beverage Sales in Your Establishment. I'll be the moderator for today's event, so before we get started, I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself and PourMyBeer. I grew up in the Czech Republic, helping my dad run his pub, so I have a long background in the industry. I started at PourMyBeer 4 years ago and have seen the company grow exponentially since joining the team. For those who are not familiar with PourMyBeer, we are a self-serve beverage technology company that enables more efficient access to beverages by allowing customers to pour their own drinks. And we have over 12,000 taps in service in 30 countries worldwide. Now, let's get into 3 of our goals for today's event. We want to provide you with solutions and strategies for your beverage program. We want to give you knowledge that you can apply to your operations. And most of all, we hope you will see higher beverage sales and result of your learnings today. It's time to introduce you to our 3 wonderful speakers. Jason Cherry, the owner of Tap 99 in Washington, D.C. Tim Enarson, the owner of Navigator Taproom in Chicago, Illinois. And Gardy Desrouleaux, am I saying it kind of right? Yeah, okay, Desrouleaux, the managing partner of Craft Food Halls, where I have the pleasure of streaming this event. Welcome, Gardy. Welcome, Jason. Welcome, Tim. Jason, can you tell us a little bit about your background in the hospitality industry?
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Jason Cherry, owner of Tap 99. We are located immediately outside of the National Stadium in Washington, D.C. We are D.C.'s first fully self-pour operation and are thrilled to be working with PourMyBeer. My background does not traditionally come from hospitality. I spent 2 years racing on a pro-am level with Pirelli World Challenge. Came out of that, started in escape rooms, quickly grew to Maryland's largest operator, and wanted to diversify my income stream, which is how I ended up with PourMyBeer.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, Tim, can you also tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, I was in e-commerce and online sales for a long time after college and grad school. I was a youth pastor. I am a licensed mental health counselor. I work with youth in Chicago. My business partner and I, we always wanted to start a brewery. And when there was a huge surge in the mid-2000s, we started looking into that. There's a ton of competition in Chicago, so we looked at the self-pour taproom model. And I, being a people person, just fit right in regards to creating a welcoming, warm environment at Navigator Taproom, which is in Logan Square, Chicago.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tim. Now, Gardy, can you introduce yourself to us as well and tell the webinar's attendees a little bit about your background?
Absolutely. My name is Gardy Desrouleaux. We have 2 pour locations in Lexington, Massachusetts and Waltham, Massachusetts. My background is I was opening quite a few restaurants for Cheesecake Factory. I left the restaurant world for a little bit, went into the tech world and did software, and then came back to the restaurant industry, partnered with my wonderful partners, and the self-pour technology made it possible for us to do what we do and grow the way that we're growing.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm excited to talk to all of you 3 and have our webinar attendees learn from you. So first, we will be diving into general info about each location, its operations, and each offering. The very first is going to be what beverages does each of these 3 locations offer. So first, we're going to be talking about Tap 99. So Jason, do you want to take that?
Sure, absolutely. So Tap 99 is a modern twist of 99 bottles of beer on the wall. And with 99 taps, we have a lot of lines to fill. So we do offer beer, wine, cider, seltzer, hard kombucha, as well as shooters.
Excellent. What about Craft Food Hall?
Craft Food Halls, for both of our pour locations, we have 30 taps with a combination of cocktails, wines on tap, beverages, and also non-alcoholic options as well.
And Navigator Taproom?
Yeah, we have 56 taps of beer, wine, cider, seltzer. We have 8 cocktails on tap, and then we've been exploring CBD and NA drinks as well.
How many taps does your location have?
Well, mine is in the name, so we do have 99 taps split across 33 screens.
Excellent. What about Navigator Taproom?
Yep, we have 56 taps.
We have 30 tabs on 10 screens.
Fun. Now let's dive into a little bit more of the beverage offering. How has your beverage offering changed over time, Jason?
We started off with 16 cocktails. We are obviously changing our offering based on seasonality. Right now, rolling out a lot of fall-inspired drinks, and as we look into the colder months, you'll see some peppermint-infused cocktails. I think the greatest change that we've embraced is dedicating a screen and soon to be 2 screens to our shooters. We are kegging those and selling them by the ounce and a half, and it seems like we're going through multiple kegs a weekend.
Excellent. That's great to hear. All right. What about you, Gardy?
The biggest change for us, I would say, is just embracing the different breweries and what they have to offer. We started doing tap takeovers and things like that. So the options have always been wine and cocktails, but really embracing what the newer breweries have, and the guests really love that change.
Wonderful. And Tim, Navigator Taproom?
Yeah, when we started 5 years ago, we focused primarily on beer. We did have wine and cider, but we had up to 12 IPAs and 8 darks. And then as we kind of transformed over the years, we did less IPAs. We got the darks down to 2, and we started offering CBD ciders, kombucha, sake on tap, and then cocktails. So we kind of ate into some of the beer lines and started doing other categories.
Excellent. Thank you. What are the most successful beverages, and have they always been so successful?
Ours is going to be very kind of dependent on what's happening in the Navy Yard, being where we are located in Washington, D.C. We are, 100 feet from the main gates to the National Stadium. So on game day, we're going to be pouring a lot of domestics. As we, are going into these colder months, we're going to see stuff starting to trend towards the ciders. Our streetery program outside, which is similar to our cafe seating, but actual kind of dedicated parking spaces that have been converted to outdoor seating areas with hay bales and pumpkins, corn stalks. We more recently received a keg of an Austin East ciders collab with Mike's Hot Honey. That's going to be something that's going to fly right off the shelf.
Would expect that too. Great. What are the most successful beverages, and have they always been successful for you too, Gardy?
I would say we started a lot with beers as well, and we integrated cocktails, and the cocktails have been extraordinary. Obviously, because it's beer-centric, beers are successful, but it's amazing what the cocktails are actually doing per volume for us. So I would say the most successful would be the cocktails.
Okay. And the same question here for you, Tim.
Yeah, we were surprised in the beginning how fast the ciders moved year-round for us. Sours as well. Wines really surprised us, but and we always move the beer due to the self-pour system, all kegs kicked. But what really blew us away a year ago was when we added 8 cocktail taps. Just the demand and the velocity of those self-pour cocktails has been astounding.
Great to hear. What beverage is currently the most poured versus which beverage brings in the most profit, Tim?
Definitely the most profit is the cocktails. Most poured is going to be, we're still in that IPA Chicago, so, tons of IPAs are being poured here, and we're doing well with them.
Is that the same for you, Gardy?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Cocktails are better margin, but beer-centric, obviously, for us, it's probably going to be the double IPAs.
Okay. And Jason, is that the same cocktails?
Totally in alignment, yes.
Okay, well, that seems to be a pretty straight answer right here. Now, the next question. Do you have a traditional bar aside from your beverage wall? And what offerings does your bar have versus the beverage wall?
I do not have a traditional bar. We did not see a need given that we had so many taps and were able to dedicate so many to our cocktail program.
Okay, excellent. That same question, Tim, goes for you. Do you have a traditional bar aside from your beverage wall?
We do. We wanted to differentiate ourselves in the beginning, so we went through the process and put it in. We had bartenders working there for 4 years straight. We had, kind of signature cocktails and whatnot, and the shots became a huge thing. We're really glad we had it. Although when I added the 8 self-pour taps of cocktails a year ago, we no longer have a bartender. We now cross-train across all of our staff, and they can go make a Jack and Coke or a gin and tonic and do shots for people while people are pouring their cocktails.
And Gardy, the same question for you. Do you have a traditional bar aside from Beverage Wall? What offerings do you have on there?
Of my 2 tap locations, one has a traditional bar, one has more of a pared down a la carte situation. Because of the cocktails on tap, you don't really miss it. It's amazing how much the guests want to do shots of McGillicuddy's on their wall.
Okay, so the question for actually every speaker here is, do you offer a happy hour or other drink specials regularly? I'll have all of you answer that. So maybe Jason, you can start. Once again, I'll repeat the question. Do you offer a happy hour or other drink specials regularly?
We do offer happy hour 7 days a week, Monday through Friday. It's running from 4 to 7 p.m. Our happy hour is not only on our beer offering, but as well as our cocktail offerings. So you can come in and get a cocktail for $7. We are utilizing the that prefix pour portion mode within PourMyBeer. So we're controlling it at 5 ounce, dispenses. And then our beer offerings during happy hour will drop down to about 35 cents an ounce. So we are one of the few, if not only, places in the Navy Yard where you can come in and fill up a beer for $5, give or take.
I like that. That's awesome. We got to go take a trip over there. Gardy, what about your experience with happy hour?
So we're in Massachusetts. There's no such thing here. Extraordinarily illegal.
Really?
It is.
Okay.
It is. So would have loved to be with where you are, sir. Jason, 35 cents an ounce. Let's go.
Okay, perfect. Navigator Taproom, what's the experience there?
Yeah, same as Tap 99. We do it from 4 to 7, Monday through Friday, all the beers and cocktails, and it's been a hit. We use PourMyBeer's technology to easily have that scheduled.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. I'll skip into next section too. I will just encourage everybody, if you send us questions throughout the Q&A, if we don't get to them, we will definitely answer it on our follow-up page that we'll be sending after this webinar. There's a lot of questions that we have prepared for these speakers. Feel free to ask any more, but we're always just going to do one top question at the end of our panel or section. So let's dive into section 2. How are you upselling and securing higher beverage sales? So before I dive into the next question, let's first explain what a beverage wall ambassador is. It would be helpful for everybody. So beverage wall ambassador, or also called beer ambassador or a wall tender, is the staff member taking care of the self-pour beverage wall and the guests that are enjoying it. For example, this employee explained to self-pour first-timers how the technology works and gives new customers recommendation on what to try if they seem unsure where to start. And the beverage wall ambassador often have a great impact on higher beverage sales as they recommend the guests new arrivals. They explain the organization of the wall, where are the cocktails, where are wine, seasonal drinks, etc. They also ensure that any guest that might feel a bit timid with self-pour technology can fully enjoy it and feel comfortable using it since the get-go. So now that we know what beverage wall ambassador is, let's dive right into this and ask the next question here. Do you employ beverage wall ambassador? And if yes, are they always from the beverage wall or only during your peak times?
I do, and it's only during peak times because it's amazing how interactive it gets with the guests asking questions about where their flavor profiles really lay. So it's really during peak times for us.
Excellent. Tim, is this the same for you?
Yes, all of our staff are basically beverage wall ambassadors, and we cross-train them to be able to operate at the wall or over at the bar or at the front host stands, opening up taps. So they're expected to all be wall ambassadors.
Excellent. Same question go for Jason.
Going to be the same for us. I strongly believe in all of the team members being cross-trained. We do allow post-shift drinks and certainly encourage, our employees to try what you on tap. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to speak about an offering unless you've experienced it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Now, does your Beverage Wall ambassador do any upselling, and how do you train the Beverage Wall ambassadors?
So we don't typically do upselling. It just happens naturally. For example, the gentleman on the slide there, his name is John, and he has a Tennessee accent. It's twang, and everybody just trusts him here in Massachusetts. So
just here in Massachusetts.
So wherever he chooses, they go ahead and pour themselves a nice tall glass. I think what we've done in terms of upselling, we've added larger glasses to our beer walls, which then the guests love being able to pour those bigger formats.
Okay. And now Tim?
Yeah, we have a crowler machine, so our staff does push those. So if someone's doing tastings and whatnot, they can add a crowler to their tab and walk away with beer to go. So that's the closest thing to really upselling. But our staff does do tastings with people, and they do make recommendations based on what they like or what the customer says they like.
Wonderful. And what about Tap 99?
Yeah, piggybacking on what's already been said, we're not directly upselling. We certainly encourage those that are in the establishment to utilize the functionality of PourMyBeer to its fullest extent, given that you can insert a card and take a splash here and there. I mean, the whole fun of it is that you don't have to commit to a pour. Now, in terms of, our glassware, making the decision to carry 19 or 20 ounce glasses versus a 16 ounce glass is going to be something, if somebody's committing to a full pour, there's a quick way to squeeze an extra 3 ounces out off of every sale. And further to what Tim had mentioned, we do offer growlers as well.
Any secret sauce, Jason, how you go about training the Beverage Wall ambassadors?
Again, I would point back to the fact that we encourage all of our, employees to sample the product. We very often have different representatives of the different, breweries or distributors bringing in samples, and that's an opportunity for us to crack something open right then and there and let everyone, have a taste of it.
Any secret sauce here for you? How you train them?
Find someone passionate to lead the department. I think for us, we have a guy who's geeky, nerdy, weird, crazy for anything alcohol, anything beer. That it's pretty impressive to see what he's been able to push out in terms of what products, who he works with for the vendors, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And Tim, you have anything to add there?
Yeah. So I like to train people at the beer wall, standing next to me, having them watch me or my managers, how we interact with customers. And really, that's the best way for me to make sure that the new hire is getting trained in how we would want them to communicate.
Wonderful. Thank you. Do you promote flights and beverage samplings?
We don't, because, just like Jason said, it's a splash here and there. So we don't really do any flights, because if they really wanted a flight, they would go flight themselves. and then we have the opportunity to rotate through so often that we wouldn't really want to standardize the flights. We let the guests do it themselves.
Okay, wonderful. Jason?
Well, that photograph right there was taken in our space. We recognized that we had structural columns. We beautified them with reclaimed barn wood and still had some extra space. And so we ended up affixing those to those columns. It's something that a guest can go up and grab themselves. What I really love about that is in particular when it comes to our cocktail program, since we are a direct draw system, everything's dispensing cold. So while we would normally encourage guests to fill up a glass of ice and then dispense, I will also very quickly point them to those flights. At that 5 ounce portion mode, each one of those glasses will fill up 5 ounces right to the top of it. And so, on a non-happy hour day at a $10 cocktail price, there's $40 walking out.
That's lovely. Tim, what about Navigator? Does Navigator promote flights and beverage samplings?
Yeah, we do have light glasses, but it's all for the customer to self-fill and take to their table. We don't sell them as a full flight or in a container. And people love it though, and we invest in those glasses, although those glasses get taken or broken a lot.
Okay. Do you add a description to all your in-house drinks and encourage your guests to learn about them?
Definitely. I mean, it's helpful also when the beer ambassador has something that they can go ahead and read and have the guests memorize themselves. It's been really, really helpful. So yes, every one of our taps have a description.
Cool. What about you, Jason?
Again, we are just killing it with all the photos that is taken in our space. We certainly do utilize that functionality. It really becomes kind of prevalent with those that are wanting to explore the cocktails. Some of our names are not a typical name. I mean, certainly a strawberry basil margarita spells it out, but as we look into the more seasonal cocktails, something that might have peppermint in it, they want to read what's going into that cocktail, and that's an easy way to simply just train your staff the functionality of the screen as opposed to having to memorize, anywhere from 15 to 18 cocktails that are constantly rotating.
Definitely. What about you, Tim? Do you add a description to all your in-house drinks and encourage your guests to learn about them?
Yes, we do. We pull the beer and cider from Untapped, and then for wine and cocktails, we add it ourselves. We do encourage customers to read up about it, and we show them how to get to it by the touch on the PourMyBeer screen.
Wonderful. Have you tried to experiment with a beverage, with a staff pick as a sticker or as a visual? So that way you can try to promote that beverage sales a little bit farther?
Yeah, so we do a sip of the week. It's up there.
Yeah.
So we do a sip of the week. That was so in Massachusetts. I don't know how it is everywhere else. There's a competition or a rivalry against espresso martinis that have a milky base versus espresso martinis like that that are just straight, basically espresso and coffee liqueur. And we'll choose the sip of the week, and then the guests will go ahead and try them and give their opinions, and it actually gets a lot of attention on our social media.
Cool. Thank you. Tim, have you experimented, now I said it right, with staff pick stickers or visuals to further boost that beverage sales?
Yes, we've done staff picks, owners, choice, beers of the month, and a lot of brewery tastings worth up to 4 to 6 beers from that brewery with posters above them. So we put, movable stickers in a sense above certain taps, and it's very effective. It does drive customers to that tap.
Okay, wonderful. And you, Jason?
We do not, utilize staff picked stickers or anything on site of that nature. However, we are actively promoting through our social media outlets. I would say the one thing that we did add that's been very helpful is kind of directional signage as to where the different offerings are, as well as just staying super organized, right? And so when you are on our beer wall that's dedicated to 75 taps, it's easy to express that we're going kind of from light to dark. And so you're going to find your seltzers, hard kombucha on one end, and then, all the darker beers on the other. And that's further enforced with, we've been using chalk markers because as stuff is moving, it's an easy way. It's something that I certainly wouldn't want to read my handwriting up there, but I have a lovely fiance that's pretty good at getting it up on the wall and staying on top of it.
Great, thank you. Have you participated in any beverage trends recently, or do you offer any seasonal beverages to increase sales?
Unfortunately, not so much. We follow the normal, we have 4 seasons, so we follow that trend. But we've kept it very, very relationship based. So whatever is coming out of each of these breweries and whatever they're pushing is what we push as well.
Good. Right. What about Navigator Taproom?
Yeah, we do a lot of seasonal trends. I mean, we just did a huge Oktoberfest push. We have 10 Oktoberfest beers on currently. So we kind of do that, and around like St. Patty's Day, we bring in a lot of green beer and things like that. And it's effective. The picture on the screen, CBD ciders, we can't even keep them in stock. The distributor runs out because we just keep ordering more and more. So that's a hit. I definitely recommend it.
That's a great.
Sure is.
That's a great problem to have. Yeah. And Jason, what about you? Have you participated in any beverage trends recently, or do you offer any seasonal beverages?
Absolutely. It certainly comes through in our, our beer and cider offerings, as well as our cocktail offerings. Pictured there is what is currently on tap. And we have, plenty of backup sitting in the cooler. We can't get enough of them.
Have you done any tap takeovers with local breweries in your area?
Big ones, yes. So we have a tap takeover approximately once a month, so once every 5 weeks, really. And it's massive. And we do pre-orders, which is essentially means that guests are ordering tickets to come to it. And they take over not only our taps, but they take over our space. We bring in live music, and it just becomes this mini festival for that one brewery. So yes, we do.
Fabulous. Jason?
I would certainly agree with Gardy. We've worked with both local breweries as well as national ones. Sierra Nevada has come in, and it always creates a good buzz, and they're always happy to spend the money.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Don't complain. What about Navigator Taproom?
Yeah, we've done an average of 2 tap takeovers a month, years, and it's very profitable. The breweries or the reps from the distributors wipe and do tastings, and the customers are driven to those taps with the posters and the free glassware we give away. So it's just a win-win. That picture there was a delirium tasting we did. I don't have any recollection of that elephant, however.
Nice. I'm going to jump into the last question of this section too. I want to encourage again every attendee here, if you have any specific questions, feel free to send them to us through the Q&A section here, and we will make sure we'll answer those for you later. We have a few here already, so my team will pick the best one. So let's dive into the last question of this section, and that's, since all of your locations offer cocktails on tap, how are these cocktails impacting your sales per week, per month, per year?
So I think we mentioned this before, that the largest margins are going to come from the cocktail. So it's huge. One of my poor locations is it's 70-30 split, but the other location is a 50-50 split, and 50% of that 50% is cocktails.
Okay, wonderful. Sorry, I'm just going to come back here. Just please get a little break here. I'll have that same question here for Navigator Taproom. Same.
Yeah, I mean, like the cocktails on tap this last year have just been an incredible driver. I mean, for 4 years before we put the self-pour taps on cocktails, our traditional bar had 10 to 15% of sales, as you can see on the screen, but now the self-pour cocktails we can barely keep in stock. Our staff are constantly adding more backups, and it's now 20 to 30% of sales depending on the season. And it really hasn't cut into our beer sales as well, so there's been an increase in sales as a result, which has been fantastic. I mean, I employed bartenders for 4 years. They were great. They did a great job. However, the self-pour cocktails, we can serve more customers faster, and thus it's just an incredible situation where the tech has driven our sales and increased our profit that way.
Jason, is it the same for Tap 99?
Yeah, our cocktail program makes up about 20% of our gross sales. And I think even further, it's important for us in particular to offer cocktails given where we're located. We are very much in a nightlife kind of heavy neighborhood. And so it's more so about retaining the patrons. Not everyone's a beer lover. And so making sure you offer something for everyone is what's going to, keep them in the establishment for those extra couple of hours.
And I still actually have 2 more questions here. Sorry that I wanted to jump the gun and already hop into the third section. So I have 2 more here that we prepared for the second section. Are you making cocktails in the house, or are you purchasing them from a distributor? What made you choose to purchase them ready-made versus making them in the house?
Yes, so we have a very large keg operation, and why, like I mentioned earlier, we have a beverage director who's weird, geeky, I mean, super knowledgeable in all of it, and having the right stabilizers and choosing the right cocktails, it's been really, really easy for us to keg them and have the operation do
The same for Tab 99?
We are not making them in-house, although it's something that we may look to do down the road. We have been working with a smaller distributor that really kind of handcrafts our cocktails. They're open to input, and they will kind of tune them to our likings and our needs. So it's not as if we're, bulk buying something that everyone can get in the city, but there is certainly the convenience, of it that is the appeal for us.
What about Navigator Taproom?
Yeah, we do it in-house. It really started out the Wild West like 2 or 3 years ago, right before the pandemic. We had 2 nitro lines. We just could not move nitro. Even if Guinness was on there, no one would pour it. And so I got with Jack Daniels, and they, helped us create a corny keg, and we started doing old fashions and Jack apple crayons on one tap, just pouring bottles in and mixing it up. And so, these were on nitro taps. It was just an experiment, and it went so well that really is what led us to do the full-on 8 taps of cocktails. We also had sake on the nitro tap as well. But I just remember pouring bottle after bottle into those kegs. That's why we do it in-house, because we kind of learned the hard way.
Keeping you busy. Okay, great. Love it. Thank you so much. And this is really this time going to be the last question for me before I hop into the Q&A for the second section. So how have cocktails on tap evolved since you first started? Have you added more cocktails on tap?
Yes, we have. How it evolved though is we started, much like was said before, you start off to see, is it actually going to work? So, you do the basic stuff, margaritas, espresso martinis, and things like that. And then you start getting complex, and then you start getting pretty particular. So we've evolved for the better. We've become more complex in our cocktail program.
Okay, wonderful. What about Navigator Taproom?
Yeah, we started off with those 2, and then, on the nitro lines, and we added the 8 that you see in the picture. If I had room, I would do 8 more.
Okay. Seems like Chicago community is very thirsty for those draft
Yes.
cocktails. Okay, and Tab 99, I know I saw your ginormous selection of cocktails there, Jason, so I think you're on the same board there. Yeah.
Yeah, I misspoke earlier on the number of cocktails we had. We have 75 dedicated to beer, cider, seltzer, or kombucha, and then it was 18 cocktail taps that we opened up with. We certainly, continue to seasonally rotate. But what was a more recent change was taking our 3 slowest movers and dedicating them to shooters. And so now we have those shots on tap, and that's been great for us.
That's wild. Yeah, as the attendees can hear it, the company is called PourMyBeer, but if it's a liquid, we can pour it. So that's I love hearing that. Great. All right. Now we have multiple questions here from the audience, but I'm going to just ask one that's very applicable. It seems like it's from our future customers. So, what has been the feedback for the system in a traditional taproom setup? This is a future customer, so they say we'll have a beer tender serving full pints, but would possibly add the pour wall for tasting and self-serve. Tackle this one, Gardy, first.
Yeah, right off the bat, man, just go straight beer wall.
Yeah.
You don't need a bartender or beer tender or anything like that. Just go the beer wall. The feedback has been super easy, super flexible, because here in Massachusetts, right? If you're, and I'm sure Jason Tap 99, if you're at the stadium like that, people come up to a regular bar situation, and then they order, 1 cocktail, 2 different beverages, someone wants bottles of water. After the 9th one, you're getting 9 Bud Lights, bro. We're not gonna take our time to give you every single thing that you asked for, because the bar is like 7 people deep and all that stuff. So the feedback has been really clear. They love the ease of getting the beer card. Really easy to just refill once they get to their limit, whatever the limit is. But it's super efficient. and it's definitely better for the operator. The operator then makes sure that they save, whatever waste that the bartender would themselves make, the guest is paying for. So just go straight beer wall, man.
Thank you, Gardy. I appreciate it. Tim, I just, considering your setup and the experience that you've had for a long time before you had that cocktail corner, did you want to add any recommendation here for the future customer?
I mean, you can do it. I agree with Gardy. You should just go straight tap wall. There are places out there that I've been to that offer, someone to pour pints. It can work, but that sometimes that can cause some sort of like us and them, like the tap wall becomes forgotten or underutilized, and I've actually seen it play out not that great. So I agree with Gardy. I recommend going straight tap wall.
Okay, excellent. And I will have one bonus question here since Jason didn't get to speak, so I'm picking one more bonus question here from the Q&A. How do you manage to control inventory for each separate tap? Jason, hopefully I'm not putting you on a spot.
How do I manage to control inventory? Well, PourMyBeer does all the work for me. At the end of the day, there's the turbines and the lines. We know what the keg value is. We know how much we've poured, and I could be sitting from home looking at levels if I wanted to. I would say that what was really became important for us was having plenty of storage. We have two massive walk-ins that are the direct draw for both our cocktails and then the beer for all 99 taps. But then we have another huge walk-in deeper in the building to hold all of our backup kegs, and then a large platform cage and the loading dock for all the empties. I certainly, had my GM send photos to me of a weekend where if a distributor fails to pick up those empty kegs, we're sitting on 100 empty kegs sitting in that cage. It can be overwhelming. And so just making sure you have plenty of storage is really important. And I did want to comment back on that last one. While we do not have a traditional bar, I certainly have visited, other locations that are not utilizing the PourMyBeer tech, but do have that traditional bar setting. And what I've found in those locations is that sometimes the bar is so big and so overpowering that PourMyBeer wall, or self-pour wall rather, is quickly overlooked. And it loses the excitement. I mean, if you're going to go traditional bar route, there's a thrill of standing around the bar and waiting for that bartender and flagging it down to order that cocktail. And a lot of people won't necessarily want to break off of their group to go to that beer wall. So if you're going to go self-pour, embrace it fully.
Yep, definitely with that. Great. Thank you so much. This concludes our section 2. Are you guys ready to hop into section 3 and have some fun with that?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So how has your self-pour beverage wall helped? How has your self-pour beverage wall helped with higher sales? We're going to dive into this with more questions. So my first one is going to be, do the majority of your customers sample? And I'll have Tim start with this one.
Yes, for sure. Our customers sample a lot, just like in that picture right there. On a busy night, there could be 10 to 20, 30, 40 people just kind of tasting up at the beer wall, and then they fill up a pint and head back to their party or their table. So for sure that happens.
How do your customers, Gardy?
Yeah, like I said earlier, they pay for the waste. So if they're pouring foam, obviously we have a direct draw system as well, so it doesn't happen unless they themselves make a mistake. It's increased really comparative to not having a pour system like this one.
Mm-hmm. And Tap 99?
We certainly encourage the sampling. I think it makes a more experiential outing. Those that know what they want, and they're going to shoot right to it. But those that are really willing to explore, it becomes a lot of fun to be able to pour that flight or go around and come back to your group of friends and talk about what you're tasting, and then maybe that person gets up and splashes an ounce or two.
Yeah, that makes sense. What is, if you are able to say, can you tell what's the most common pour size? And I know this might change during the time of the day, but what's the most common pour size for you over here?
Unfortunately, the most common pour size for us is about 6 ounces, 7 ounces. There are a lot of guests that taste, but we want to try to push to the 10 ounce, 12 ounce, 16 ounce, 19 ounce mark. But I would, like I said, around 6 ounces is the common pour size for us.
Maybe you need bigger glasses. So I tried to pour more in there. I just couldn't fit it in. What is that like for Tap 99, Jason?
A pretty similar situation. Our data is so skewed, given that, we have cocktails, shooters that are utilizing the portion mode. So we're offering them in 1 ounce and 5 ounces so you can sample or commit to it. I certainly, from a visual perspective, see everyone once they find what they want, they're filling it up all the way, which is why we're providing those larger glasses to capitalize on, those sales. And then late night, that's a totally different culture for us, at least in particular, given that we're in just such a dense nightlife area. At that time, I probably am seeing more people overfilling to the point that it's just spilling on the floor because they're having so much fun.
Yeah, a side question here just for you, Jason. When you say large glasses, how large glasses are we talking here?
So we have, everything ranging from 20 ounces to the big Stein glasses and so on. So there's tons of stuff under there, and we are rotating the glassware too as we see what people tend to grab at. We recognize that we've only been open for a little over a year. The neighborhood that we're in is continuing to build up. It is becoming the densest, if not already the densest neighborhood in DC, and we are embracing the change.
Awesome. And Tim, what about your common pour size?
Yeah, the 16-ounce pint definitely is the number one, but people love the snifters, so those are more like 10 to 12 ounces. We do stock bigger 20-ounce and 24-ounce Steins liters, for all the Oktoberfest and German beers that we keep on year-round, and that's a huge hit, and that helps our profit margins for sure. People pour more. They think it's awesome to have that huge Stein in their hand. I love that Tap 99 has Das Boots and things like that. That's incredible. I will say that a lot of other bars will charge a full $9, $10 for beer, put it into 10 to 12 ounce cups, and the customer just accepts it and drinks it, but then may complain that ours is more expensive, but it's just not. It's just that they're actually getting 16 ounces in a pint. We're just charging them for what they're pouring. That's kind of one of the dirty secrets, at least, of the Chicago bar industry.
Right.
Fabulous. And Tim, what's the average wait time for your customers to get a drink?
Yeah, we have it so dialed in because of the PourMyBeer tech with Toast. It's actually faster than when we used to do it with Square. It was a 3-minute wait time max with Square. Now we got it down to a minute or two. So it's really a sweet scenario.
Awesome. What about you, Gardy?
Unless, the place is packed and, there's a line waiting for beer carts, it's really no time at all. The sync is with Toast as well. Happens in no time, and the guest is in front of their screen in 3.2 seconds because our station, our POS station is very close to the beer wall. So we make sure that they filtered in and they're pouring right away.
Yeah. Wonderful. And what about Tap 99, Jason?
Same as the other two. We are integrated with Toast. It's really as fast as I can talk because the PourMyBeer and Toast integration is so seamless. I should really become a sales rep at the end of this.
I know, man, you're killing it.
It's so seamless though that the lengthiest part of the process is just explaining how the self-pour operations work, and so we're starting to see more and more coming in. We already had our regulars that we built up very quickly in the Navy Yard, and as they're bringing in other friends, as I start the spiel, a lot of the times I'm very quickly interrupted of, no, I got this. I've been here before. And they then, show for their friends off to show them. And similar to Gardy, our check-in station is right next to our tap hall.
That's what PourMyBeer definitely highly recommends for anyone's setup. So it makes things easy and fast for the new customers coming in. Great. Now, next question. Do you notice beer or wine lovers sampling beverages from other beverage categories before pouring a full glass of their favorite, like wine or cocktail on tap? Tim?
Some do, but I would say that most of our customers really know what they want. They might taste, a couple IPAs, but really they're going to fill up on the IPA. The wine lovers are going to stay over in the wine and just fill up a glass of wine.
Okay. Is that the same for you, Gardy?
Yeah, man. I think Jason said it earlier. They know what they want. The adventure side is very limited. They really do know what they want for it.
Yeah. Jason, did you want to add anything to this? I know you pretty much covered it already.
It's all the same. They will venture within the realm of what they know they like. So if they're an IPA drinker, they're going to venture within whatever IPA is similar, to everyone else. We certainly encourage it. Does it always happen? No, but you know what? Drinkers are drinkers, and they're going to be out to drink and have fun.
Wonderful. How many customers can pour at your self-pour wall all at once, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it slammed like that or even more. I've seen 25, 30 people just crammed in there pouring. We love going into the cooler, me and my business partner, and hearing the snap, snap, snap of the flow meters and the tech actually working as people pull on the tap handle.
Okay, great. What about you, Gardy?
Yeah, and we don't really have the regulatory or the recommended spacing between ours, and we've had 30 people at the same time pouring.
And Tap 99?
All the same. The only thing that I would add is that when we're running our happy hour deal, that time's ticking. At some point, you'll see somebody open up their tab and they'll just leave their one card pouring, and they're just going glass after glass behind it, and so that's always fun to watch.
Okay, I'm sure it gets wild. One thing I will mention to those that are not as familiar with PourMyBeer as these three wonderful operators are, PourMyBeer will definitely be limited. The tabs will be limited to how many screens you really have. So you basically, one screen means one customer. You can have, even if you have, just like Jason at Tab 99, we have 3 tabs. Correct me if I'm wrong. 3 tabs per screen. Is that right, Jason?
That's correct.
Yeah, so basically per that screen they'll have one customer, and I think it's plenty. It's already plenty, because that's over 30 screens, so definitely gets busy and lots of customers can be pouring at the same time.
I mean, name another bar that you can be serving 33 customers all at the same time, and that's the whole appeal of it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's the beauty of PourMyBeer right there. Awesome, great. Let's hop into the next question, and I'm just going to give a quick reminder to our attendees that they can post their question in the Q&A section, so we can ask one last at the end of this section. Would you say that self-pour brought an enhanced experience to your establishment, Tim?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the self-pour model, like, even though it's been out in the industry for 5-10 years, like, people still just have never seen anything like it. They love it. It allows operators to improve, serving efficiency. We can go through more customers and get more people in, and customers are just they leave like blown away. So it's really an enhanced.
Right. The same for you, Gardy?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's part of it's a partner brand for us, and it's part of our vibe. And it's amazing when you ask a guest, "Have you ever poured your own beer?" And they walk in and they're like, "No, I'm going to pour my own beer today." And then we've made buttons that they can put in that says they put their own beer today. So it's definitely a massive experiential booster.
Okay, you're right. And what about Tab 99?
Yeah, no, it's certainly experiential. I think what's great about it is it can be intimidating for those that are first time users, but once you really understand the system, knowing that you can go out with a group of friends, maybe you're the one in the group that doesn't want to drink that much, and so you don't have to commit to that full pour. You can have those 3 ounces, those 4 ounces, and I think what's also really great, particularly with those that have a lot of taps, is that we are one of the few, if only in the city, that are offering a lot of stuff that you just can't get elsewhere. We certainly carry the top movers that every other bar has. If you go in a bar and they have, a dedicated 20 taps to the ones they know are moving, we have the other, 80 that we can really have some fun with. And so people know that about us. That's where our integration and the PourMyBeer integration with Untapped comes into play. Getting that information out there has been really successful for us.
Fantastic. Thank you. Well, last 2 questions from me for today. How has self-pour technology helped you reduce labor needs, Tim?
Yeah, so, especially during the pandemic, I mean, this model of a self-pour tap room was life-saving for the bar. I mean, like, I was able to operate it by myself for months. And you can go down to 1 employee there Sunday through Thursday at times, unless you're doing a trivia night. On weekends, I do bring in, 4 to 6 employees, but you can do it with 2 to 3, especially with the toast integration. So it does save on labor, 100%. I mean, you're still going to pay payroll, and sticker shock every time you run it. But and in Chicago, you had to pay servers $5.90 back in 2017. Now it's over nine. So it's just costs are going up for sure, but self-port tech does enable you to run leaner.
Great. What about here?
Oh man, it's completely reduced labor needs. Like to have the same ability to pour, 10, 20, 30 drinks at the same time. How many bartenders do you need to be able to do that? And so yeah, just same comments. We've been blessed to have something like that allows the guests the flexibility and the freedom to have their own experience.
And not having to wait with empty glass. That's a big one too.
Yeah.
Nobody likes empty glass. Okay. Tap 99. Jason, would you like to add anything to this one?
Yeah, as everyone has already said, there certainly is a reduction in labor costs. I think it's great that we're able to utilize a tip pool model. So everyone's very happy. The culture is always great. We do find a lot of, customers still tipping the 20%. I think that we've averaged out about 18%, over the last year. And so there's a lot of money to be made for the employees. And we're not dealing with the same labor pool that you would in a traditional bar setting where you have a trained bartender. We can focus on personalities because the rest is simple. And so hiring big personalities and making sure we have these great characters in there is what's been good for us.
We're just smiling over here because we're just talking about that. Great. This is going to be my last question here, and then I have one more from the Q&A section here. So how has self-pour technology reduced your beverage waste? Let's start with Navigator Taproom.
Yeah, so it's almost down to zero. Self-pour technology, like we're able to monitor down to like every ounce, and unless we're cleaning the lines, I don't see foam going down the drain. So, it's almost eliminated.
Fabulous.
Yeah, same here, man. Like I said twice before, the guest pays for the foam. So, and we've had zero complaints. It's always, a running joke that, let's show you how to pour a little bit better. And those extra 50, 70 cents that normally would go down the drain is just revenue.
And what about Tap 99, Jason?
It's the same as everyone else. It is practically zero. What I really love is the forward-facing visual on the screens. That is the kind of keg indicator. And so if I am not necessarily logged into the back end monitoring keg levels, I can do a quick stroll down it and see those different keg levels to know what's about ready to kick and be prepared for it.
Excellent. Now I have the last question here from the Q&A section. I have a lot of really good ones, but I really like this one. Jason already touched base on this a bit, so I'll ask that to Gardy and Tim. Does your staff get hourly wages only, or do they receive tips also?
Yeah, so they receive tips, and it's important because you have to think, with your beer ambassador, for example, if you're not running a traditional bartender and you have all these cocktails on tap, somebody's making them, somebody's made them, and the guest still feels weird about not tipping. So very similar situation. Yes, they have a standard wage and they get a tip pool situation.
Excellent. Tim, what about Navigator?
Yep, we pay hourly and then they do a tip pool and they're very happy.
Right.
Very
happy. Jason, not that I don't want to let you speak, but I think that you've already said.
Already covered it. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Well, this is it. We've made it through all of our 3 sections. I hope everyone is inspired and is taking away some great tips and ideas from today's webinar to bring back to your establishment. If anyone would like to speak with my team about how self-pour beverage technology can help with your beverage sales, we are offering a free consultation. Simply scan the QR code and fill out the form on the page, and we will reach out. As for the next events that you can join us for, we are really excited to announce that on December 7th, we are hosting an in-person event back here in Boston, Massachusetts. I hope I'll see Gardy over there. It's going to be at the Hampton Inn Boston Seaport. If you have underutilized space in your venue that you want to turn into moneymaker, this event is definitely for you. You will hear from an experienced hotel manager and self-pour operator You will network with other attendees, hopefully Gardy will be one of them, and learn how implementing a self-pour station adds another stream of revenue to your establishment. Thank you, Gardy. Thank you, Tim and Jason, for sharing your knowledge with everyone today, with us, and with every attendee there. It was extremely knowledgeable, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And of course, thank you all so much for joining us today for our webinar on how to increase your beverage sales. Hopefully you learned a lot. We will send out the recording next week via email. And I hope you all enjoyed our webinar. And you feel like you're expert on increasing your beverage sales in your establishment. Have a fantastic day. And thanks again. Thank you, guys.